What's up YouTube, Dell here from Zephyr, and today I'm going to bring you an update for a very good deck that I think is very enticing for a lot of new players, and that is going to be Traptrix. Now what makes Traptrix so good for a returning player or a new player into the game is the fact that it slowly introduces you to a very good control style aspect, while also giving you introductions to mandatory effects as well as some combo orientated options, and with more modernized support has become very, very aggressive, so you're not always stuck in a very slow back and forth grind state. It's one of the decks that received the structure date a good couple of years ago now, but the idea is that you can get this really cheaply, very easily, and then adapt it as you see fit, but it's a very nice, slow introduction to the game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the main deck, the extra deck, and of course, as always right now, a demo side deck, so you have a bit of an idea of what you might want to be looking for in order to put this deck together when you're taking it to a local environment or higher. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. Starting off with your main starters of the deck. So you're going to be maxing out on your Traptrix Momelo. Now this card, as well as most of the other Traptrix monsters, have a normal summon effect and a special summon effect. The special summon effect is mandatory as well, and the best thing about that is on specifically, they can trigger your Traptrix Sarah. So Traptrix Sarah is like your ideal go-to card. This is the one you want to get through from the extra deck, and with most Link 1s, this is where Link 1s are incredibly powerful. The fact it only requires you to have one Traptrix monster gets you into your Traptrix Sarah, and you've got a whole fortitude of effects that can then start to trigger to give you multiple forms of advantage, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on when we get to Traptrix Sarah. Most of your Traptrix monsters also have the same effect, that they are unaffected by whole normal trap cards. Would have been nice if they was unaffected by all normal trap cards, but you never know. So with your Momelo on normal summon, it lets you add a trap whole normal trap card from the deck to the hand, which is really, really important because that's how you're going to start getting into either your extender with your Holotea, or of course you can work your way into your defensive options, being your Gravedigger's Trap Pile, Bottomless Trap Pile, so on and so forth. Its special summon effect, it is mandatory, so no matter whether your opponent has a monster or a spell or trap or not, it will trigger. So if it is special summoned, you target a spell trap your opponent's tries and destroy it. So even though it can't resolve, it still has to trigger, which then in turn will allow you to trigger Sarah's effect to let you set a whole trap card from your deck, which is really, really important. For your other ideal normal starter of the deck will be your Mantis. On normal summon, this lets you add a Traptrix monster from the deck to the hand, and that will ideally work your way into something like an Arachnacampa that I'll talk about a little bit later on. Its special summon effect, or its other effect that it has a quick effect to target a set spell or trap card that you control, return it to the hand, and then you can set a spell or trap from the hand. Now the benefit of this one is that this is a Traptrix monster effect that you can trigger whenever you need to in order to trigger off the Traptrix Sarah, but it also gives you the option that should you have a spell or trap that you want to protect from being destroyed via a card effect of your opponents, you can return it to the hand and then it doesn't get destroyed. Then the card you're going to want to search more times than not with the Mantis will be your Traptrix Arachnacampa. So it's unaffected by the effects of whole normal trap cards, and the first time each set card in your spell and trap zone would be destroyed by a card effect, it is not destroyed. During the main phase, if you control a Traptrix monster, you get a quick effect to special summon this card from the hand, but you can't special summon from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except insect or plants, which is absolutely fine. So the idea is this is either going to be a defender to be able to stop all of your stuff from being destroyed. So if your opponent goes Harpy's Feather Duster, you can chain the Arachnacampa, summon it down, protects all your spells and traps. More times than not, as well, also acts as an extender. So if you've already got one level 4 on the field, rather than going into a Traptrix Sarah and not be able to do anything, you go Mantis into Traptrix Sarah, and then because you control a Traptrix monster, you can activate the Arachnacampa, Arachnacampa summons, and then you can trigger off your Traptrix Sarah, giving you the trap card that you might need. For the other cards, we are playing 2 Pudica. You can play this at 3 if you wanted to. Again, it's unaffected by whole normal trap cards. You only use each of the following effects once per turn. When it's normal summoned, you add a Traptrix Garden directly from the deck to the hand, which is this card right here that I'll talk about in a second. If this card is special summoned, you get to target a special monster your opponent controls, you banish it, but then during the next standby phase, your opponent gets to special summon one of their banished monsters. So if it's still there, they're bringing it back. If it's not, they ain't bringing nothing back. So the Traptrix Garden that it gets to search is that during the main phase, you get a normal summon of a Traptrix monster in addition to your normal summon or set, which is really important that their normal summon effects are not hard once per turn. So if you have 2 Momelo, you get to go again. On top of that as well, your normal summon or set, the first time each insect or plant monster you control will be destroyed by battle, it is not destroyed. So quite like how Arachnacampa can protect your spells and traps, your Garden can also protect your monsters sometimes from being destroyed by battle. You can banish one monster you control, especially on any Traptrix monster from the hand or grave. You can only use each effect once per turn. So it's one of these ones that you're quite happy to play one of because you very easily get access to it from the Pudica. This then giving you the access of additional normal summons, while also being able to special summon back Traptrix monsters from the grave that you might want to utilize their effects of, can be very, very helpful. Then we do play 2 Dioneer and the 1 Vacillo. So with the Dioneer, its normal summon effect lets you target a Traptrix monster in your graveyard and special summon it in Defense Vision. But then on top of that is when it is special summoned, you get to target a whole normal trap card in your grave, reset that target on the field, but you banish it during the end phase of the next turn if it is still on the field. So if you activate it, great, or you just return it with Mantis. Then with the Vacillo, this one again, all unaffected by normal whole trap cards, only use one of the following effects per turn, and only once that turn. You can send one set trap card you control to the graveyard to special summon it from the hand. If you control no cards in your spell and trap zone, you get to banish it from the graveyard to target a whole normal trap and reset it. Now, you don't have to play this card. It's just kind of one of these ones that is a nice one-off to utilize. It kind of gives you a bit more of an extension if you've already gone through Arachnocampa. It can also help you recycle certain trap cards if you've gone into a bit of a grind state and you're trying to regain a bit of resource. So it can be very, very useful for you. The final monster that we play that is not a Traptrix monster is 3 Parallel Exceed. The idea behind this one is if you special summon your Traptrix Sarah, you can special summon one of these from the hand to the zone it points to, and then get another Parallel Exceed directly from the deck. And straight away, with the fact that your Traptrix Rafflesia is a generic rank 4, you can overlay into that and you instantly have access to any of your trap hole cards directly from the deck. So your opponent tries to activate something like Nibiru, you can Gravedigger Trap Hole. If they try to activate something that puts a monster on the field that is 1500 or more attack, you get to use Bottomless Trap Hole. So there's a couple of cards that can really interact with your opponent and make it very, very awkward for them. Moving on to the spell cards, you don't really play a huge amount of spell cards in this deck, but it's entirely up to you if you want to play more. So I decided to go with 2 Super Polymerization. The reason I'm only playing 2 and not 3 is because, again, I'm indecisive. There's a couple of cards in this deck later on, mainly Infinite Impermanence and Evenly Matched, that I'm playing at 2s each as well. You could afford to cut both out the Super Polys and bump up Infinite Impermanence and Evenly Matched, or vice versa. So you kind of make your choice of which you want to. The trap cards are more effective and has a bit more synergy for the deck, but the idea with Super Polymerization is it's an insanely powerful go second field breaker, or even a go first set card to break a field. You do have space in your extra deck to utilize some targets, but this really kind of comes down to what you have available to you and if you choose to use these or not. For the other spell cards, I've got the one Trap Tantalize in Tune. So this lets you discard a level 4 or lower insect or plant, or a normal trap card to draw 2 cards. You banish this from the grave to target one of your banished level 4 insect or plants, or a normal trap card, place it on the bottom of the deck. You can only use each effect once per turn. So it's nice to recycle some of your grind state cards. It's also one of the ones that kind of takes up the place of what we would usually play in the form of a second pot of prosperity. The idea is you're trying to draw more cards, and this is another way where your additional trap cards like Evenly Matched, which aren't going to be effective for you going first, can then become fodder that you can then get rid of. So it's entirely up to you on this one. You could play 2 Trap Tantalizing Tunes if you wanted to, but I quite like this balance. You can adapt it as you see fit. Then moving on to the trap cards, which is the most important part of this entire deck, we're playing 3 Traptrix Holotea. So you get to activate this card the turn it was set by discarding a normal trap card. Again, more reason to be playing 3 Evenly Matches and 3 Infinite Impermanences, but it really kind of comes down to it because Traptrix are a go first control style deck. They are going to be a little bit weaker going second, which is why you want to utilize cards like Super Polymerization or Evenly Matched in the main deck. So you get to special on this card in Defense Vision. Again, the benefit of this one is you're triggering a normal trap card the same turn, so you can get the secondary effect of the Traptrix Sarah to special summon a monster or a Traptrix from the deck, and then utilizing your Traptrix Holotea as a level 4 monster, you can overlay into an Xyz of your choosing. You can banish this card from the grave to target a Traptrix monster in the grave and special summon it. You can only use 1 effect per turn. So it's one of these grind state games that lets you help yourself out during your opponent's turn, while also banishing a normal trap card that your Trap Tantalize in Tune can recycle. Then for the other trap holes, we play the 1 Gravediggers, Bottomless, Floodgate, Terrifying, and Trap Hole Nightmare. Now you could choose to play a lot less of these if you want to. I just quite like the idea of playing these as a range. I like the fact that I've got the options if my opponent activates a card effect in the hand or grave or banishment, I get to burn them for 2,000 life points and then negate it. I've got Bottomless Trap Hole that when they summon a monster, I get to banish it if it's 1,500 or less. Floodgate Trap Hole flips it face down permanently. The Terrifying Trap Hole is if your opponent has a monster special summoned on the field, you get to target one of those monsters with 2,000 or more attack, and if I do, destroy it, and then if I have a whole normal trap card in my grave, you can also banish one monster to your opponent's graveyard. And then the Traptrix Trap Hole Nightmare is when a monster that was special summoned this turn activates its effects, you negate the activation and destroy it. Or negate the effect, sorry, not the activation. So you've got a range. You can cut these down if you wanted to. You can play 4, you can play 3. I just quite like these options. It gives me a bit more recyclability. It gives me more options to search. It kind of lets me dictate the matchup that I'm in. And then if I'm in a matchup where I'm like, okay, well, they're not going to summon anything that's going to be affected by Floodgate Trap Hole, I take it out. I can side it out. It gives me a bit more breathing space. For the other trap cards in the deck, we've got 3 Dominus Purge, sorry. So the idea behind this one is all your Traptrix monsters are Earths. Most of your extra deck are going to be Earth as well. It's one of these ones that if you do activate this, you need to know that your SP Little Knight is going to be offline. But it's entirely up to you. If you don't have access to these, straight away take these 3 out. That's your 3rd Super Polymerization, your 3rd Infinite Impermanence, and your 3rd Evenly Matched. But these will be a lot easier to get post-Rarity Collection 5 coming out later on this year. So for now, that could be a stopgap for those other cards I'm going to show you 2s of, being the Infinite Impermanence and the Evenly Matched. And then the final card we play is the Mulchomi Fulos, just because, like I've said, with a deck like this, going second is always going to be your weakest kind of possibility. So you need to be able to play cards like Mulchomi Fulos that if you go second, you can draw into Super Polymerization. You've got Infinite Impermanence, the Dominus Purges, the Evenly Matches. And if not, again, let's say you've got your Purges, but you don't have the Fuoloses, cut them out completely, and that's when you can start bumping up your Super Polymerization. You can bump up your Evenly Matched. You're basically trying to get as many copies of cards that go second as possible in this deck. So that's it for the entire main deck. Now to show you the extra deck. And this is what I really like about the Traptrix, is it has probably one of the last standing, last surviving, insanely powerful Link 1 monsters. So for the best Link 1 monster that this deck could possibly play is 3 Traptrix Sarah. Now, what makes Traptrix Sarah so incredibly powerful is it requires a non-link Traptrix monster. The Link Summon card is unaffected by all trap effects, so even your own sometimes, very important. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. So, if a normal trap card is activated, you get to special summon a Traptrix monster from the deck with a different name than the cards you control. If another Traptrix monster effect is activated, you get to set a whole normal trap card from the deck. So, this is just insane, because like I've said, the baseline combo is that you could go something as simple as, so let's keep it very easy. Let's go normal summon Mantis, use Mantis' effect to grab you your Arachnocampa. Then you can use your Traptrix Sarah, you turn your Mantis into Traptrix Sarah. Then what you do is, just because if you activate another Traptrix monster card, it doesn't even need to be one you control. You activate the Arachnocampa in the hand because you control a Traptrix monster, summon it down. This will then trigger the Traptrix Sarah to set you a Trap Hole card. Now, if you have another normal trap card in the hand, you would set Holotea. You'd use the effect of Holotea, so you'd be able to special summon this card. This will then trigger the other effect of your Traptrix Sarah to special summon you a Traptrix monster from the deck, so you can pretty much get access to any Traptrix monster that you want. Let's go for just Momelo for this example. And then what you could do is you can leave the Arachnocampa up here and then overlay both of these to go into what would be your next Traptrix monster, being either your Rafflesia or a personal favourite of mine in a Traptrix deck is Time Thief Reader. So that just kind of gives you a bit of a basic line combo. What makes Traptrix Sarah so good is you can trigger both the effects. It's just a really, really cool card. The only other Traptrix Link monster we play is the one Atopus. You can, and there is a version of this deck that plays the Link 2 as well, and you also play some of the other Traptrix main deck monsters, but this is basically just your aggressor of the deck. You can very easily play Access Code Talker in here as well if you wanted to, but it requires 2 monsters, including an insect or plant. This Link Summon card is unaffected by trap effects. All Traptrix monsters you control gain 1000 attack while you have a normal trap card in your graveyard. So the benefit of that one, this becomes a 2800 base. Traptrix Sarah then becomes a 1800 base, which is really kind of cool. You get to target face-up cards your opponent controls up to a number of insect and plant monsters you control, negate their effects until the end of the turn, and then you get to apply the following effect. You banish a normal trap card from the graveyard, and if you do, destroy one of those targets face-up. So really kind of cool. Then for your XEs, we've got the one Traptrix Rafflesia. So again, this one is unaffected by trap effects while it has XEs materials. Traptrix monsters you control except itself cannot be destroyed by battle or card effect. Your opponent cannot target Traptrix monsters you control with effects except Rafflesia. And then once per turn, during either player's turn, you get to detach an XE's material from this card, send one whole normal trap card directly from the deck that meets its activation requirements. So you can't just go, okay, well, at any point I want to activate Bottomless Trap Hole. You have to do it in response to your opponent summoning a monster with 1500 or less more attack. Then we've got the one Traptrix Alameris. So 2 level 4 monsters, unfortunately not generic because you get more effect from this by having plant or insect. It is unaffected by trap effects while it has Xyz material. You only use each of the following effects once per turn. Detach 2 materials from this card to then special summon a level 4 insect or plant monster from the grave. If an opponent's monster leaves the field because of a card effect and is now in the graveyard or banished, except during damage step, you get to detach a material from this card, target one of them, and special summon it to your field. The final Traptrix monster we play is the one Pinicula. So this one is generic, but while it has material, it's unaffected by trap effects and the activated effects of other monsters with the same type as this card's materials. This is going to be really important because this can start to steal your opponent's monsters. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. Detach a material from this card to add a Traptrix monster from the deck to the hand, and if a monster is owned by your opponent, is sent to the graveyard or banished via a card effect, except during a damage step, you get to attach one of those monsters to this card as material. So that's when you can start protecting it against your opponent's own monsters. Then for the other generic rank 4s, we play the one Time Thief Redoer. So the idea behind this card is if it's utilized with a trap card, it has an additional effect. So it has additional effects depending on what its materials are. And during each standby phase, you get to attach the top card of your opponent's deck to this card as material. So you have a quick effect to detach up to 3 different types of materials from this card. So monsters, spells, and traps. And in doing so, you get to trigger the following effects. If it's a monster, you banish this card until the end phase. If it's a spell, you draw a card. And if it's a trap, you place one face-up card your opponent controls back to the top of the deck. So you can make it have a monster and a trap card because you can use the Holotea. It only gets a spell card if it steals it from the top of your opponent's deck, but sometimes that can be very, very important. And just to make a very, very fat stacked Time Thief Redoer, once you attack with an Xyz, you can just go onto a Zeus, and your Time Thief Redoer could end up having like 12 materials. It's crazy. Number 41, Baguska. If you get like absolutely interacted to death, but you can still set 4 cards and make a rank 4, you go Baguska. Exton Knight to kind of balance the playing fields out a little bit more. And then the Superstar Slayer Typhon are next to your Divine Arsenal Zeus. And then your generic options of your SP Little Knight, backed up by your 2 Super Polymerization targets in Garura and Mud Dragon. If you take out your Super Poly targets or you take out your Super Poly, you open up the extra deck. A card you could consider is Castel the Sky Blaster. The reason you would consider this is that the Harpy's Featherstorm you could play. I'm not promoting Harpy's Featherstorm. I think it would probably not survive the next upcoming Forbidden Limited list. If you wanted to, you could do, and you'd get more consistency from it when we go into the side deck. Speaking of the side deck, we are just using hand interactions of the current format. So 3 Droll Notbird. I'm also playing 3 Retaliating Sea. This is just for Drekatail Hate, but the idea behind this one, which is what makes Retaliating Sea a little bit better in Traptrix, is that this one lets you add an Earth Insect type monster with 1500 or less attack from the deck to the hand if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard. So if you link it off, you can search out stuff like your Arachnocampa, which is really, really important. You can also search out, you can't search out Mamelo, unfortunately. You can also search out Mantis. So you've got a couple of different targets you can search out. Then I'm also playing 3 Iron Thunder just because you want to make sure you don't get blown out by Evenly Matched, while also being able to kind of protect your field as well, sometimes protect your Sarah. It kind of gives you a bit more protection. And then the last kind of cards I play is 2 Trill Tactics Thrusts, which can lead me to go second cards in the form of Trill Tactics Talent and the main deck of Evenly Matched. But it can then also get me to go first cards in different dimension grounds, the Black Goat Laughs, and Destructive Daruma Cannon. Again, you adapt it to the environment you're going into. If there's a trap card that is more effective to the environment, you can go for it. The only risk of your Destructive Daruma Cannon is you lose your own Traptrix Sarah, but in a Malice matchup, there's kind of like a very fair trade-off. So really is up to you, and as long as you use Sarah's effect as well to set you the cards that you need before you use it, you can still get maximum advantage. Like I said, if you play Castel the Sky Blaster, you can very easily play Harpy's Featherstorm in this place. Really is up to you. So that's it for the entire main deck and the extra deck and even the side deck. So hopefully this has given you a bit of an idea of how Traptrix currently work and currently look like in the modern game. It's something you can really adapt to, and like I said, it's a very nice introductory level deck as well. There's a lot of cards you can utilize. It gets you into XZ summoning, it gets you into Link 1 summoning, it will then get you into when effects, if effects, mandatory effects, and then trap card control. So it gives you a nice range of everything you may or may not need, and what it really does is it starts to kind of be a good introduction and welcome back, and it's a really annoying deck to face as well. Like, I've faced this a couple of times in the past, and it is very, very oppressive. But it's one of these decks that a lot of people kind of sleep on, don't really respect. Obviously, it can be beaten. It's not a meta contender, but it's definitely one of these decks that if you're coming back into the game or if you're new to the game, this is something you could go for alongside. Like, if you're like, I don't like Blue Eyes, I'm not the biggest fan of giant dragons, you go, oh, well, try Traptrix or try Fire Kings. You're like, not much of a fire player. I want to play something a bit more control. I'll go for this one. So it gives you a couple of different ranges, and it's just one of the decks in the most recent, like the modernized era of Yu-Gi-Oh! That's just been insanely good for the current player base. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Do like, comment, subscribe, share. Any questions, comments down below. I'm always happy to answer them. For now, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.